Mr. Chairman, could you please call the roll? Yes, I just want to go on and get the committee meeting started because we have people who have meetings in other rooms who need to put in proxies. And so if you all want to go on and do that now,
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
we have a quorum. Now the committee will be at ease. We just need people to record their proxies.
Call the roll. You called the roll. Call it again.
They already did
Go
proxies.
hit the proxies. Well,
Is Newman here?
it's okay. It's done.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. All right, what we're going to do is bring up the bills. If there are no amendments to any of these bills that are needed, and the House bill passed 100 to nothing, the Senate bill passed without any dissents, then if you want, you can come up, but we would just make the motion that your bill, be reported. All right, the very first bill is House Bill 1408. That's Delegate Brewer's bill. A similar bill and passed was 15-0 here and 39-0 in the Senate. It has to do with workers' compensation, presumption of compensability for certain cancers. Do I have a motion?
So move report.
This is a report and refer to Senate Finance. All right, all those in favor of reporting House Bill 1408 and referring it to Senate Finance, vote aye.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. The bill is reported and referred to Finance. The next bill is Delegate Marshall's House Bill 1410. That was identical to SB 1038 by Senator McPike, which passed out of this committee 15-0 and out of the Senate 39-0. And that will also have to be referred to Finance. Do I hear a motion?
Move report refer to finance.
All right. All those in favor of reporting and referring to Finance, say aye or vote aye.
Ayes 13, no zero.
Mr. Chairman, someone vote for Tom and Norman? Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. The next bill is House Bill 1477. That's Delegate Ballard's. It's identical to Senator McPeak's bill, SB 986, which passed Commerce and Labor 14-0 and the Senate 38-0, having to do with corporations filing and meeting requirements. Do I hear a motion?
Move report.
It's been moved and seconded that House Bill 1477 be reported and be reported. All those in favor, vote aye.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Well, this. Delegate Ware, do you want to hear 1604 today, or do you want it to go by for the day?
I would be fine to hear it today. It's identical to this.
Yes, no, I know it is. We had gotten something about it going by for the day, but we'll bring it up, okay, since it's identical. All right. That bill is identical to Senator McClellan's, Senate Bill 1321, and it's the Virginia Electric Utility Regulation of rates, passed Commerce and Labor 15-0, and the Senate 40-0. Do I hear a motion?
Move report.
It's been moved and seconded that House Bill 1604 be reported. All those in favor, vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Yes.
Okay.
Ayes 12, no zero.
Now, 1640 is Delegate Kilgore's bill. It's Senate Bill 1409. And it passed, it has to do with Medicare supplemental policies for certain individuals under age 65. Now, it's identical to Senator Barker's bill. Senator Barker's bill passed out of here by a vote of 14 and one abstention. And it passed the Senate 34, 4, and 1.
Move report.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
To report House Bill 1640, Delegate Kilgore's bill. All those in favor, vote aye.
Ayes 12, no zero.
Ayes 12, no zero. Bill is reported. The next in this category is 1776. It was a good year. I was there. What's amazing is a lot of people here believe me. Anyway, that's Delegate O'Quinn's bill, and it's identical to Senator Todd Pillion's bill, which passed out of here 13 to nothing, and out of the Senate 39 to nothing. Deals with the business park electric infrastructure programs. There a motion?
Move the report.
There's a motion and a second to report House Bill 1776. All those in favor, say aye. Vote aye.
Ayes 13, no zero.
Ayes 13, no zero. The next bill, 1778, is also Delegate O'Quinn's bill. That is, it deals with financial institutions, certain investments by banks to be permitted. Now, that was identical to Senator Lewis's bill, which passed out of the committee 14 to zero, and it passed the Senate 40 to nothing. Do I hear a motion?
Move the report.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report House Bill 1778. All those in favor, vote aye.
Ayes 13, no zero.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
yeah.
Got a question. This is getting a little bit painful. Is there any way we can put the bills that passed both bodies unanimously and this committee unanimously in a block?
Well, the reason that I'm doing this is just in case the legislator wants to either change, amend, or whatever, okay? And this way there's no controversy. All right, that passed. Delegate, the next bill is 1886. That's Delegate Byron's bill. That deals with insurance agents definition, private family leave insurance. And it expands the definition of health agent and property and casualty insurance agency. It's identical to Senator Favola's bill, which passed out of committee 15 to zero and passed the Senate 38 to nothing.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to report House Bill 1886. All those in favor vote aye.
Ayes 13, no zero.
Okay. Bill is 13 to zero. The bill is reported. The next bill is Delegate Adams, House Bill 2009, and that's Adams LR. It deals with unemployment compensation and venues for prosecuting certain criminal cases. It's similar to Senator Stanley's bill, which passed out of here 15 to nothing, and the Senate 38 to nothing. Do I hear a motion?
Move the report. Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report House Bill 2009. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
Ayes 13, no zero.
Ayes 13, no zero. The bill is reported. Okay. House Bill 2179, that's Delegate Moorfield's bill, and that is, deals with the Department of Labor and Industry, Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation, notice of disciplinary actions, method of delivery to allow for confirmation of delivery. That's similar to Senator Hackworth's bill, or identical. Hackworth's bill passed 15-0 out of here and 38-0 out of the Senate. Right here.
Move the report.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Report 2179. All those in favor vote aye.
Ayes 13, no zero.
Ayes 13, no zero. Bill is reported. The next is House Bill 2198. Okay, and that's Delegate Byron's bill. And there is, the bill is identical to Senator Servell's, passed here 15-0 in the Senate 40-0. And I understand there's an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After speaking with the Bureau, we didn't quite get the language right. So on line 52, after 2, strike a qualified health plan as defined in section 382-6500 and insert policies, contracts, or plans issued in the individual market or small group market. So the line would read on line 52, the provisions of this section shall not apply to policies, contracts, or plans issued in the individual market or small group markets.
Mr. Chair.
Hold on one second.
$21.98.
All right.
Mr. Chair, move the amendment.
All right. There's been a motion. Need a second for the amendment. And all those in favor of adopting the amendment to 2198,
Mr. Chair.
say aye.
Mr. Chair, on the amendments, both sides agreed. I don't know what's capital, Ms. Delegate Brown here or not.
Delegate Byron?
So my question was, both sides agreed to the amendment? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Just trying to look out for your sister girl, that's all.
Thank you.
Okay. Second.
There's a motion and second to report House Bill 2198 as amended. All those in favor vote aye.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. The next is also Delegate Byron's bill. And that's, as I said, that's 2201. That deals, it's identical to Senator Donovan's bill. It passed here 14-0 in the Senate 40-0. It deals with association health plans, base rates based on employer members' risk profile. And like I said, it passed unanimously, both committee and floor.
Move the report.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report 2201, House Bill 2201. All those in favor vote aye.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. The next is 2262. That's Delegate Hodges' bill. That's identical to Senator Mason's bill, which passed here 14-0 in the Senate 40-0. It deals in the area of health insurance, provider credentialing, processing of new applications. And as I said, it passed both committee and the floor unanimously.
Move the report.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report 2262. All those in favor vote aye.
Ayes 15, no zero.
All right. The next is House Bill 2444, Delegate Bloxham. That is identical to Senator Locke's bill, development of offshore wind capacity cost recovery, okay? And Senator Locke's bill passed out of committee 13-0 and 38-2 on the floor of the Senate.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to report House Bill 2444. All those in favor vote aye.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Yeah. Delegate Byron, you have 2463, and one of the members here asked to put a reenactment clause on it. Have you discussed that?
Yes,
Is there,
that bill is identical to.
Senator Servell's,
Senator Servell's
which
bill.
passed here 15-0 and passed 40-0.
The idea is that the bill would not be enacted if we did not.
Can you
There are several ways, I guess, that could be taken care of, but that's probably the easiest way. If we should not come to some type of agreement, that the bills then would go away.
okay.
And
So are-
we're hoping that doesn't happen, but
You're okay with the
yes.
amendment? Okay. All right, I need a motion to, all right, it's been moved and seconded that the amendment, which would add a reenactment clause, be accepted. All those in favor, vote aye, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the amendment is now part of the bill. There's a motion and a second to report House Bill 2463 as amended. All those in favor, vote aye.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no 0. Now we get to what's called similar bills. Okay? All right, the first is Delegate Greenall. Delegate Greenall. Okay, I know. All right, it's very similar to what Senator Edwards had that passed here 15-0 and the Senate 38-0. Is there an amendment?
Mr. Chairman, Delegate Greenhall, the bills are identical, but for a technical amendment on line 63 of the bill, of the delegate's bill, we need to strike the word subdivisions and insert subsections.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the amendment. You repeat the line again.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, line 63.
Okay. You all heard the amendment. And there's been a motion. Do I have a second to adopt the amendment? Motion and a second to adopt the amendment. All those in favor of adopting, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, amendment's adopted. Bill's before us as amended. All right, there's a motion and a second to report House Bill 1375 with the amendment. All those in favor vote aye. Okay. The next is Delegate Ware's bill. Here, now, 1430. Okay, 1430 is similar to Senator McPike's bill, which passed Rule 17-0 and Senate Finance 16-0, and it was it passed the full Senate 38-0. Deals with the Clean Economy Act. non-bypassable charges you want to explain? And
Yes, sir. It is in the same quadrant, if you will. Senator McPike's bill was principally a study. Mine also puts in place a pilot program. Your staff has a substitute which would include that element of Senator McPike's bill in with mine. And I've subsequently had a request for a couple of line amendments. And again, I think staff has those line amendments which make it a little more, make my pilot program a little more permissive. And there are people who feel a little more comfortable with those line amendments.
Okay. All right, you want to go ahead, Mr. Stevens, with the,
Mr. Chair, first, did you want to get the substitute before you?
Move the substitute.
Second.
all right, it's been motion and a second to adopt the substitute. All those in favor of adopting the substitute, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Substitute's been adopted. All right, go ahead with the amendments.
Mr. Chair, Delegate Ware, the amendments to that substitute are on line 10, delete shall, insert may. Line 22, delete to.
I don't have the copy of the substitute.
The substitute was just posted online, and I can give you a hard copy as well. Line 22, delete to assist with development of the program the commission may convene. Insert, if the commission chooses to develop a pilot program, it shall first.
Okay.
Line 26, after center, insert representative of Phase 1 and Phase 2 utilities. Line 43, there's a sentence inserted after the word necessary, and on line 51, after commissioner, insert shall consider the work group's recommendations in ruling on any such application.
You heard, motion and second to adopt the amendments to the substitute. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. Opposed? No? Okay. Those are the amendments. All right. Are there any other amendments? Okay. All right, Bill, the substitute as amended is before us.
Mr. Chairman?
Right.
I want, yes, sir.
All right, having voted on the prevailing side, by which we adopted the substitute and subsequent amendments, I move reconsider the vote. All those in favor of reconsidering the vote on those, vote aye.
Aye.
You posted the wrong substitute.
Oh,
No, it's not.
Ayes
Okay.
15, no zero.
All right, the original bill is back before us.
Mr. Chairman,
Hold on a second. You have the substitute that goes with this?
Mr. Chair, the substitute to which line amendments were just made will be made available online shortly.
Get closer to the mic.
The substitute to which line amendments were just made will be online shortly, and an updated substitute that incorporates those line amendments will be available after this meeting. Thank you.
Well, yeah. Can it go by for the week? Bill's not in trouble.
okay, you all have another meeting coming?
Yes, next Monday.
Sure.
And again, emphasizing, there's not a problem.
Mr.
Be
Chairman?
glad to be back. Yep.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so
Mr. Chairman?
without objection,
Mr. Chairman?
House. Senator Spruill.
You said not in trouble, but those who come out of my office, I'm hearing that it would be in trouble. So without a substitute, I'd like to
Let
know.
it go by. You have it up? Yeah. All right. Yeah. Delegate Ware,
Mr. Chairman,
do you mind if we let it go by for the week? Like I said, there's not a problem. Delegate, Senator Spruill.
you keep saying there's not a problem, but those who have come out of my office said there is a problem. So I just want to make sure that the changes have been made, that those who have a problem, at least they will at least know what the changes are. Because I'm not saying it's in trouble, but I got some folks who come out of office say that they don't like.
Are they here?
I assume so. If they want to hear, I'd like for them to hear.
Well, without objection, we're going to let,
Mr. Chairman, I do, the only objection that I'm aware of at this point is from a certain of the folks in the sort of green energy side of things, but I think this allays some of the concerns that, that they expressed.
Mr. Chairman, I have a slightly different question, if I could. My question would be, are you opposed to conforming to Senator McPike's bill?
Yes.
You are, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
we'll straighten it out in conference.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, those who would propose, you mind if they say something?
We're gonna wait, we might as well wait.
All right, can you be brief?
Oh, I can. But today, if it's the will of the body to get this legislation in the form as amended, we're happy to look at the amendments that you'd, and then to speak to the amended form once it's
All
before
right,
the body.
well, it's then by for the week. Without objection, House Bill 1430 will go by for the week.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Next is 1471, Delegate Fowler. Delegate Fowler's bill is similar to Senate Bill 1261, which was Senator Donovan's bill. It passed the committee 14-0, and it passed the Senate 40-0. Deals with health insurance, electronic prior authorization, and disclosure of certain prescription drug information. Okay. This will conform it to Senator Donovan's bill, the amendment. It's been moved.
Mr. Chair, lines 87 and 129, strike the word encounter and insert office visit.
What was that? What's the line again?
2 lines, sir. On line 87, exchanging the encounter for the office visit, as well as that same change on line 130. And then on line, in the second enactment, on line 139, after human resources, insert and subject to the availability of non-general funds appropriated to the State Corporation Commission.
Second.
The amendments, you've heard the amendments. There's been a motion and a second to adopt the amendments to House Bill 1471. All those in favor say aye. This conforms it to Senator Donovan's bill. All right, all those in favor of adopting the amendments say aye. Aye. All right. It is now before us as amended. All right, it's been moved and seconded that 1471 as amended be reported. All those in favor, vote aye.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no 0. All right. And 71. All right, the next bill is Delegate Weaver's. That's 1637, deals with electric utilities pilot program for underground transmission lines, additional project. That is similar to Senate Bill 1370, which was Senator Vogel's bill, passed Commerce and Labor 14-0, and the Senate 39-0. Is there a motion to conform it?
So moved. Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to conform Delegate Weaver's bill to Senator Vogel's bill.
Okay.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did you, Delegate, did you want to say something?
I'm not slowing down the train, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, the bill as amended is before us.
Move the report.
All right, Senate, House Bill 1637, to report, you have with the substitute, yeah, right, with the substitute. All those in favor vote aye, those opposed, nay.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. Bill is reported.
Five.
Okay. The next bill is House Bill 1752, Delegate Head's bill. That deals also public utilities, fiber optic broadband lines crossing the railroad tracks. Remember, we had Senator Stanley's bill. It's similar to that. That passed here 11-1 with 2 abstentions, and passed the Senate 32-3 with 3 abstentions.
Yeah. And, Mr. Chairman, there is a substitute for mine that will conform it with a couple of additional changes that we've worked out in additional consultation with the railroads, and would get us, I think, would have both of the bills now in the same posture, if we could adopt that.
Senator Newman.
Could you tell us what changed? In other words, this was debated pretty heavily in here.
Yes, sir. Well, in changes from my bill, it increased the crossing license fee from $750 to $2,000. It separated out the pass-through costs from licensing fees to ensure that the railroads are made whole in the event that there are pass-through fees. The pass-through fees now include all expenses incurred by the railroads, like flaggers, administrative, engineering, et cetera. From a process standpoint, it separates the scheduling of flaggers from the application timeline, extended the application timeline period, allowing the railroads a period of time to request application clarifications or additional information. It extended the SCC timeline for review, changed the process from written notice to an application subject to railroad approval, and then further specifies the application content requirements. It also deleted the short line railroad exemption at the request of the Virginia Railroad Association, puts the SCC in as the neutral arbiter in cases of disputes and the backstop for all crossing disputes, removed the scheduling of flaggers from the application timeline, increased the insurance requirements, and then had some specific crossing safety requirements that were added to ensure safety.
Mr. Chairman.
So, and a lot of that was already in the Senate version. So,
Mr. Chairman, of all these changes,
Increasing the fee from what, $7 to $2,000?
$750 to $2,000.
Mr. Chairman, my question, Mr. Chairman, my question is, all these changes you have made, has Senator Stanley agreed to all these, what you're talking about?
Yeah, yes, Senator Sproul, he has.
He has?
Yes, sir.
All right. These all in the form of amendments or something? All right. Heard changes. Does there a motion to adopt the substitute to 1752? Mr. Chairman. Second, all those in favor, vote aye.
Oh, what are we doing?
We are adopting the substitute. Okay. To House Bill 1752. That makes them, well, not right now. Because, this bill hasn't come up.
It has not, but it will tomorrow, and we've been in consultation, all of us together over the weekend, and by the time it gets through, by this time tomorrow, I think everything will be in the same posture.
Mr. Chairman, then should, knowing that we operate different from the House, should we wait to make sure that y'all fix this bill the way this one is? I know how we over here, but my concern was if we adopt these, and then when his bill to get to the House, they don't adopt what you were saying, then somebody's in trouble.
Well, Mr. Chairman, all I can tell you is I serve on that committee as well, and they will be the same by the time they get, his bill will look like this by the time it finishes committee tomorrow, so.
Mr. Chairman? Okay.
Okay, all right. The motion then would be to support 1750 forms of substitute.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Head, how would you characterize the status of the negotiations?
That's a very interesting question, Senator Mason. Generally, it has been my experience throughout my life that negotiations require both parties to be sitting down to discuss, and since there has been very little discussion that involved me until we got passage done through the ends, I would say that in the last weekend, the negotiation has been somewhat more robust and productive.
Mr. Chairman, you're starting to resemble Senator Stanley a lot with that. That's good. So I'm starting to sound like a broken record on this one, that all of these provisions sound like they come at the last minute. And one of the discussions that I've heard but haven't ever seen in print, unless it's in the new substitute, is an effort to get both parties together at the beginning of a contract. All right, so when we first heard about this, we heard that you have 18 months. Time is of the essence to get all of the work done. So why do we not have a provision that if whatever triggers that 18-month mark, and I don't know what that is, whatever triggers that 18-month mark, why do we not have a provision that the telecom parent, I mean the top dog, and the railroads will have within 30 days a consultation, a discussion, a meeting that walks through the entire, every crossing or everything anticipated to be needed to fulfill that contract?
Well, Mr. Chairman, Senator Mason, I would say to that, there's some inherent problems in that, because as you work down any sort of a process, things change. Your needs change. An example in looking analogous, for example, would be the plans in Virginia Department of Transportation to say, this is the plan and this is exactly what we need to fix an interchange. I would use, for example, out in my district, the exit 150 on I-81 and the crossing of Route 220. And the plan was made, and it was absolutely, this is what we need, and we're going to do it this way, and it was going to be long ramps, and it was going to be extraordinarily expensive. We're going to acquire property, and the conversations were there. But as soon as it began to move down the road, someone came up with a much better idea that cost an awful lot less, was able to be done for an awful lot less money without disrupting everything. And at the risk of sounding very cliched and pun intended at this, once the train has left the station, if you require it to be an 18-month contract and everything is there, what you are proposing would, if something else came up, would simply require the entire process to start over again. And when we're dealing with ARPA funds that have a timetable on them, literally the clock might run out and we would lose them. And so I think that's why this really does need to be done on a case-by-case basis to be able to deal with it the most effectively and the most efficiently. Now, I've got some folks here in the room might, if they want to add anything to that or disagree with my position on that, but I think that's what you'll hear.
Mr. Chairman, what I was going to add, it maybe kind of goes in with this. Since these are, I think, changes, can we ask for testimony both for and against? Because I like to hear from other people about these changes. Mr. Chairman, can we ask if there's people who want to speak to these changes, please?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Sadie Gary on behalf of Virginia's Electric Cooperatives. I'm joined by my colleague Jacob Newton, who can answer any technical questions, but we are happy with the posture of this substitute, which takes into consideration a lot of the feedback from the railroads. The bill is, still in progress, but we're happy with where we are now. We're happy to entertain any further amendments from the railroads, but we do need the intent of the bill to be maintained so that we can expedite rural broadband deployment quickly, which the substitute does do. Thank you.
So I understand things change throughout the course of a project, of course. Why doesn't it make sense for us to sit down up front and square out the things that aren't going to change, that are going to be easy, that are no problem, and at least we have some idea of what may be a problem or we just don't even know, rather than getting to a 25, 35, however many day window that you're dealing with a specific crossing?
Mr. Chairman, Jacob Newton with Virginia's Electric Cooperatives. I would answer by saying that the build-outs are dynamic. They essentially follow the electric lines and the existing infrastructure. And certain poles either need more or less work to get them ready for the pole attachments. So your broadband is going to follow those, and it's going to constantly dynamically move to go the most cost-effective method possible through that infrastructure. And in doing so, we can't pinpoint exactly where the railroad crossings are going to be. If there's a railroad in the area of a build-out providing grant, I think that'd be a great place for somebody to go to the Department of Housing to petition and say, hey, they come out with new guidelines every year and say, hey, we think part of these guidelines, you should have to go consult with the railroads. That would be a great addition to the divided guidelines. That's just not the intent or purpose of the statute. With the dynamic build-out, it's just not feasible like this. Thank you.
All right. Substitutes before us.
Move report as.
Oh, you got one more? Come on.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, real quickly, you asked for folks in opposition. I do want to say there was some discussions this Friday and over the weekend, up until about kickoff, I think, this weekend, but there's still some fundamental issues with this substitute. The 11 railroads in Virginia offered to cap fees and shorten timelines, both for application review and flagger scheduling in underserved areas. This tracks with the Commonwealth's goal of deploying broadband in the VADI program. Proponents of the bill rejected focusing on just underserved areas and have demanded a further 60% reduction of our most recent offer to apply statewide. And the reason this is important is we're talking about, we wanted to focus on rural broadband, what we talked about. Now the way this bill is written, it applies statewide. So if you have a crossing at Longbridge, at the port, you go across 7 or 8 different tracks. This could be in the same space of how, the last speaker talked about just going over one aerial crossing. That's a lot different, as Senator Mason said, to look at what you're looking at for a project versus something that might be down at the port or in a much more complex area. This treats everything the same, which is why we focused on underserved areas in our offer. Railroads remain concerned that the bill compresses the application review timelines to impossibly short windows, thereby compromising safety and risking unsafe installations. And the last point I'll make is we've offered to document flagging costs and only pass on actual costs incurred to the applicants, but the applicants have responded by capping reimbursed costs without going to the SEC. This places undue burden on the railroads and will require the railroads to go to the SEC to make their case and costs incurred. Going to the SEC in and of itself is a cost to be incurred. I will note too that the substitute actually, I think I'm losing track of my versions, but one had the fee capped at $2,500, and through the negotiations, the railroads or the co-ops further reduced the fee that for railroads to $2,000. So we still have a lot of problems with the substitute.
Any other questions? Anyone else desire to offer an opinion? Okay.
Second.
A motion and a second to report the substitute to 1752. All those in favor, vote aye. Those opposed, no.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1. Bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. The next is 1775. That's Delegate O'Quinn's bill. And that is similar to Senator DeSteff's Senate Bill 904 that passed the committee 15-0 and the Senate 39-0. It'll have to go to Finance and Appropriations. It deals with workers' comp, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety disorder, depressive disorder for law enforcement officers and firefighters. You want to put a conforming amendment? All right, is there a motion? Motion and a second to conform 1775 to Senate Bill 904. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, bill's before us. Hold on. Delegate O'Quinn, did you want to speak?
You've heard the issue.
You're okay with this?
I think you all have heard the issue, so.
Okay. All right, there's a motion.
Second.
And a second to report and re-refer to Finance. All those in favor, vote aye.
Ayes 14, no 0.
All right. Delegate O'Quinn, you're still here. That's, next up is 1777. Deals with Phase 1 utilities. That's Appalachian, and it's similar to Senator Ruff's Senate Bill 1075, which passed here 13-0, and the floor of the Senate 40-0, and deals with annual rate reviews, true up for rate. You want to quickly explain?
Mr. Chair, you have heard the bill. I think minus one date change at the end, the bills are identical. So I don't want to put words in Senator Ruff's mouth. I think he's amenable to that date change, but that's literally the only difference in the bill that you all considered.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Surville.
Question for the patron. So you're basically telling us leave yours alone. They'll fix his on the other side?
I think that's the plan if you all, I mean, it's your committee, but I think that's the plan.
Okay.
So we. All right, there's a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Newman.
Before we do that, and Delegate, I apologize, but I was going to talk to others about this, but have you guys during your negotiations ever considered securitization for AEP as well as an option? I mean, your customers, my customers are in deep trouble, and I don't know that if in your bill you even give AEP the option of securitization. Is that being discussed, and could we maybe look at that on the floor?
Mr. Chairman, I would say that we did have that discussion, and I know that that's probably been a bigger part of the discussion on the Dominion 1770 bill. We decide to add it in the end, but I think it is something particularly, once we have the Senate version of Senator Ruff's bill coming, we could potentially put that on there. I'm not opposed to considering it for sure.
Mr. Chairman, just briefly, Mr. Chairman, is that let's talk about it before we go to the floor, and I don't know what the group want to do about it, but it just seems like if we give the option to AEP to do it, then those customers could have an opportunity to have those costs leveled out. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Spruill.
So if we leave this one alone, then, so your bill comes to the Senate, we pass it out. Then Senator Ruff bill comes to the House. Then what would happen to his bill? You gonna leave that alone too?
I think, Mr. Chairman, prior to the discussion that we just had, we would have probably changed the date in his bill to conform to this one, since that's the only difference. But we may be having a little bit of different discussion on the fuel securitization piece.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman, second question.
Go ahead.
Then usually when we have something like this, then we use to form his bill to the Senate bill and then send it over. I prefer to form his bill to the Senator Ruff bill. Let them send it over there, let them fuss it over there. I can't see send his bill over there, let them put his bill on top of Senator Ruff's bill. Why can't we put Senator Ruff's bill on top of his bill and send it over?
Wait a second. Which date are you changing? The reviews, the March 31st date, or
Council can tell you exactly which line.
Changing the adjustment clause.
It's the 2020. I think it's 2024 to 2025. I think is the date change.
His is 2024.
Mr. Chair, Delegate O'Quinn, lines 929 of the bill, Delegate O'Quinn's bill has 2025, Senator Ruff's bill has 2023. So the subsection would read, nothing in this section shall alter a Phase 1 utilities obligations pursuant to sections, except that any cost proposed by a Phase 1 utility after January 1, either 2023 or 2025, for compliance with sections dealing with racks that would have been recovered under a rate adjustment clause as authorized shall be recoverable only through an art review.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Spruill.
then the next question is this. I have no problem with it. But when something's made to a bill, whether it's in the House or the Senate, my question is that the Senator Ruff agreed to the change that you're making now?
Mr. Chairman, is my understanding that the answer to that is yes. But
Mr. Chairman, I know I'm old school. I don't know what you mean, but
Senator Spruill, we have two choices. We can conform his to Ruff, okay, or pass it out the way it is, and then they can work it out in conference or whatever.
I understand, Mr. Chairman, but still, when you conform a bill, whether it's in the House or the Senate, at least you give the other side the respect, the same bill, saying, yes, I talked with that person, and we agree or we don't agree. I just don't see conforming to any of the other, no matter which side, conforming any bill without talking to the other person.
Mr. Chairman, understanding what Senator Spruill is talking about, I can't get a hold of Ruff right now, but if we can pass this out, and then if Senator Ruff says that he wants to make a change, we'll do it on the floor.
I agree.
Sure.
I move that the bill be.
Mr. Chairman, and Senator Spruill, I'm not trying to pull a fast one on you. If I was trying to pull a fast one, I found something more creative than that.
Change this on the floor. Okay. Senator Spruill.
All right.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, there's a motion to report as is, and a second. Do I hear a second? Second. House Bill 1777, that's Delegate O'Quinn's bill. All those in favor vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Ayes 13, no 0, 1 abstention.
Ayes 13, nay 0, 1 abstention. Bill is reported. Okay. Next is 1918, Delegate Batten. Delegate Batten here? Okay. Before you get up, let me just go over this. House Bill 1918 deals with health insurance coverage for audio-only telehealth services. We saw this in Senator Marsden's bill, and what we did was we passed it by indefinitely with instructions to send a letter, to the what was it, Health Insurance Reform Commission. Dave, yeah, it was passed by indefinitely with a letter to the Health Insurance Reform Commission. So that's what you're dealing with. Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, can we hear from the patron at least?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm aware of the fate of Senator Marsden's bill. I just wanted to note that we did make a change to the bill when we heard it over on the House committee. And we just clarified, we amended it to reflect that the reimbursement rate does not have to be the same as an in-person visit, and it can be negotiated by the plan with the provider.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's a good bill. I like my bill too. This is fine by me, and it would not hurt my feelings if it was passed. But if you want to continue and just,
Mr. Chairman,
be consistent here with what my
Senator Spruill.
PBI with the letter.
All right, there's a motion and a second to pass by indefinitely with a letter to the Health Insurance Reform Commission. All those in favor, vote aye. Those opposed, nay. All right.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. By the way, the PBI on Marston's was 9-4 to 1. Next, Delegate Batten, you're still here. House Bill 1921, deals with financial institutions, earned wage access services, licensure requirements, and penalties. This is similar to Senate Bill 1217, Senator Mason's bill, which passed 14 to nothing and passed the Senate floor 40 to nothing.
Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Batten, did you want to talk about this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am aware of Senator Mason's bill, and I know that there was a substitute there, so I would expect it be perhaps the will of this committee to overlay his substitute on top of mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, there's a motion to adopt a substitute to make Delegate Batten's bill identical to Senator Mason's 1217, which passed, again, 14 to nothing out of committee, 40 to nothing off the floor of the Senate. All those is there a second? Second. All right, motion and a second. All those in favor of conforming that to Senator Mason's bills, vote aye.
Say aye.
Or say aye, excuse me.
Aye.
All right, it's now before us.
Somebody remembers the
Yeah, all right, we got one no.
Move report.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report as with the substitute to House Bill 1921. All those in favor, vote aye.
Ayes 15, no zero.
15 to 0. Bill is reported as a substitute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Delegate Adams is up again with House Bill 2010. Well,
This is the one we worked on very hard and got out of here.
Yeah, I believe the agreement changes the Senate version from attorney for the commissioner to attorney for the commissioner.
What?
You can have her speak, I don't want.
Gotcha.
You say you have amendments?
Commissioner?
Yeah, if you want to hear from Commissioner Law.
Okay.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yeah, yeah. Commissioner, you want to talk? It's House Bill 2010.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, Senator Stanley. Yep, sorry. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, Senator Stanley had a similar legislation that's SB 1120. On the House side, they made a substitute, but it was a technical change to how the attorney language was, that Senator Servell worked with us on it. So if we could adopt the substitute of Senator, is this right? Tom, can you help me?
Yes, it's not a conforming sub.
We just need to adopt the substitute.
Mr. Chair, yes, if the committee likes the substitute, it is now currently online. If you give me a second, I'll.
Now, the substitute essentially changes what?
Instead of saying, it says the commissioner shall have the authority to authorize any attorney employed by the commission to have the power to issue subpoenas. The Senate version said an attorney for the commissioner shall have the authority.
Mr. Chairman, that sounds technical to me, and I move
All right.
the sub.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to adopt the amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. 2010 is now before us as amended.
Second.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second to report as amended. All those in favor of that, vote aye.
Ayes 14, noes 1.
Thank you.
All right, 2010 as amended is reported. Next, is delegate bill. Delegate bill, second bill 2132, similar to SB 1145. That's Senator Pikes, which passed here 14-0, and Senator 40-0 deals with underground utility damage prevention. Let the chair change to the, I guess, the current law. You want to explain that,
Mr. Chairman, you explained it very adequately. The difference, there is a difference between the senator and my bill. From what I understand, the only difference is that my bill was sent over to House courts, and they put some language in 368 down to 376, just to, if we're going to go all this trouble to get, to capture someone that's doing this, and it goes to court, that it would allow the folks there, lawyers, to have it, have good, solid language to be able to prosecute them. That's, council may be able to put it in.
Mr. Chair, Delegate Wilt, Doug's correct. The only difference is the language regarding the felony. Delegate Wilt's bill says any person who knowingly and intentionally excavates after being notified by a representative of the commission of a determination that such excavation constitutes an immediate threat, et cetera, is guilty of a Class 6 felony, whereas Senator McPike's bill said any person who knowingly excavates in violation of this chapter and fails or refuses to stop work and cease such excavation when requested to do so by a representative of the commission shall be guilty of a Class 6 felony.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, but for one time, I like his version better. And I hate to do it. So my question, Mr. Chairman, from my personal opinion, that his version is much better than the Senate version. I don't want to say it too loud because my chairman is looking at me over there. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I don't see no problem why we can't conform this Senate bill to his bill. His bill makes it plain. That's my personal opinion.
Well, it's
makes
not
it
here
plain.
right now. It's in the House.
Yeah, okay. Move the report.
Second. All right, there's been a motion and a second to report as is House Bill 2132, Delegate Wilt's bill.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it has to go to Senate Finance. Report and refer to Finance. All those in favor vote aye.
Ayes 15, no 0.
15-0 to report and refer to Senate Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members.
I had a flashback to the House, I'm sorry.
She left. Delegate Byron's not here. Okay, next is then, hold on. Next would be Delegate Leftwich. Delegate Leftwich here? No?
2116, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman. 2216.
Hold on. All right, we're on 2216, Delegate Leftwich's bill.
Similar to Senator Cosgrove's, the difference is that Senator Cosgrove had a work group.
Well, let's conform it.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, move and second to conform 2216 to Senate Bill 1347 as it left here. That's Senator Cosgrove's bill, passed this committee 14-0 and the Senate 40-0. And is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second to report House Bill 2216 as a substitute. All those in favor, vote aye.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no 0. All right. The next bill, and it also has to go to Finance, Delegate Kilgore's 2275. All right, hold on. All right, it was similar to Senator Sorvel's bill, which passed here 14-0, and the Senate, though, only 21-19. It's an energy planning and electric utility oversight. Remember, we had an extensive debate on the floor about this, but there's a motion and a second to conform Delegate Kilgore's 2275 to Senator Sorvel's 1166. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. And the amendments, the conformity is adopted. There's a motion and a second to report and refer to Senate Finance. All those in favor, vote aye. Okay.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
All right. Ayes 12, noes 3. The bill's reported. Delegate O'Quinn, House Bill 2386. You're up. This is similar to Senator Vogel's bill, which passed 13-1 here and 38-1 in the Senate. It deals with a Virginia Power Innovation Fund and Program.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. You're right that the bill creates the Virginia Power Innovation Fund. Those grants would be awarded competitively and would be used for research and development in innovative energy technologies, which are listed there in my bill. And it supports energy innovation and hopefully the establishment of the subsequent supply chain, and will attract these cutting-edge assets to the ground. So that's the bill.
How is Tom, how is this different than Jill Vogel's?
Mr. Chair, Senator Vogel's version, you all removed any reference to nuclear or nuclear power, which remains in Delegate O'Quinn's bill, and Delegate O'Quinn also included geothermal, pump storage, hydropower, battery storage, and manufacturing.
Well, I don't have a problem with nuclear power.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Newman.
I agree. I mean, as you know, Lynchburg is the head of the East Coast for nuclear power, and I know something went bumping tonight on the floor. And if to keep the bill alive, we have to do that. But I hope when this goes into conference, I hope that Virginia nuclear power, which is the cleanest of clean energy, comes back somehow. So I don't know what we want to do here, but I hope that at some point we keep what is going on in Tidewater and in Lynchburg alive, which is unbelievable research in nuclear energy.
Okay, bills before us. Motion, is there and a second to report as is Senate Bill, House Bill 2386, and refer it to Senate Finance. All those in favor, vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Ayes 11, noes 3, 1 abstention.
Ayes 11, noes 3. The bill is reported and referred to Senate Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Wait, that was O'Quinn's. All right, we got one more left in a similar category. That's Delegate Batten.
The difference is technical.
Well, let me, all right, it's similar to Senator Mason's bill, which was Senate Bill 1509, passed here 15-0 in the Senate 40-0. deals with home solicitation sales, and it clarifies the definition of what that is. So you want to quickly explain, and then we'll get into what maybe the differences are. Okay? Explain your bill. Go ahead, Delegate Patton.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This just amends the Home Solicitation Sales Act to clarify that it does not apply to technology services that provide insurance and service agreements. Technology services that provide insurance and service agreements. So these are companies that are in a customer's home because they've been invited to make repairs on insured products or to install and activate technology systems. They are currently regulated by the Extended Service Contract Act, which is under VDAX, the Portable Electronics Insurance Laws, which is regulated by the SEC, the Virginia Consumer Protection Act, which is the Attorney General and Commonwealth's attorneys, and also by the FTC. And it was just it was a technical amendment.
Mr. Chair, Delegate Batten, we corrected some drafting errors in the Senate version and didn't quite get to them in Delegate Batten's bill, so if you all wanted to conform her bill to Senator Mason's bill, they'd both be drafted correctly.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to conform to Senator Mason's bill. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, the bill is amended, is before us. There's a motion to report as amended, House Bill 2422. All those in favor? Vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ayes 15, nay 0. The bill is reported. Okay. Now we get to bills that we haven't seen before, or we haven't seen this year. Okay, first up is House Bill 1544, Delegate Campbell. Delegate Campbell here? Nope. All right. He's got two bills here, 1544 and 46.
Mr. Chairman, he's chairing a subcommittee over in the Capitol.
Okay. Well, we'll wait till we can get over here, or I prefer to wait till he. Yeah, I prefer to wait until he's here. All right. Next is 1727, and that's Delegate Head. Deals with credit unions, virtual currency, custody services.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, and there is a substitute. As we've been working through with this, dealing with working with BFI, and we've got a substitute. If you wouldn't mind adopting that, it does a couple of minor changes, and I can tell you about it before you do, or I can tell you about the bill. Obviously, whatever your pleasure is. So.
Well, briefly tell us what it does and then what the substitute does.
All right, sir. The bill, you may remember last year we had a bill that allowed banks the authority to operate as custodians for virtual currency.
Right.
Credit unions asked for the same clarification, and so the bill as it was initially filed was identical. It just added credit unions to the same bill. In working with BFI, though, there was some concern because banks, it gave them the authority in both cases to work in both a fiduciary and a non-fiduciary realm. Banks in a fiduciary capacity already have the ability to operate as a trust department. Credit unions don't have that. And in order to make sure that the proper guardrails were in place without giving credit unions trust capability, the substitute addresses that and just it clarifies that credit unions have to meet the same standard as banks to offer virtual currency custodial services in a fiduciary capacity, and then also spells out BFI's authority to restrict or prohibit those fiduciary services to ensure the safety and soundness.
Okay,
so
this passed the House 97-0, by the way. All right, is there anyone here to testify in favor of the bill? Welcome.
Hi, Carrie Hunt, President and CEO of the Virginia Credit Union League. We support this ability for credit unions. Credit unions are seeing their members invest and engage in virtual currency, and we want to make sure that credit unions members can trust their credit unions to be custodians.
Okay.
Thank you.
Senator Marston, hold on. You got a
Thank you,
question?
Mr. Chairman. Ma'am, what are the risks involved? I mean, we've heard so much these days about the risk of some of these currencies. And what are the potential risks to those who would be investing in these things through your credit union?
Well, the credit unions themselves are not investing in virtual currency. All that this does is allow credit unions to be custodians for their members. So now, as a consumer, if you purchase virtual assets, those exist in a virtual place on a register, and you get a key, and it's a virtual key. So I can purchase it, I get the key, and I can hold it myself. And if I lose the password, if my computer gets stolen, then I'm out of luck. Or I can use a service to be a custodian for me. Now there are some that are fly-by-night that consumers can't trust, or banks, credit unions at the federal level, others can act as custodians. So it's really just holding a virtual safe deposit box.
Senator Morrison.
So I assume by that there's no, insurance like there are with other banking services, like FDIC, whatever, that this is just, like you say, a box, and if it goes away, it goes away, and you're essentially not responsible?
Well, I mean, certainly if the credit union is offering a service, it would be responsible to the same degree that it would any other service that it's offering, but it's not, the currency itself is not on the balance sheet. It's not insuring the investment. It is just acting as a custodian to safeguard that key.
All right, is there anyone in opposition? Okay. The bill is before,
The substitute.
Were we adopted the substitute? No. No. All right. Do I hear a motion to adopt the substitute? All right, is a motion a second to adopt the substitute to 1727? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, the substitute's before us. All right, there's a motion and a second to report 1727 with the substitute. All those in favor vote aye.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported. And I understand that Delegate Kilgore, you can handle both of Delegate Campbell's bills.
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty simple bills. The first one is 1544, which simply updates the Virginia Credit Services Business Act to reflect intervening changes in state and federal laws referenced.
Can you get a little closer to the mic?
Oh, I said the purpose of the bill is just to update changes in the state and federal laws referenced in the VCSBA, the Virginia Credit Services Business Act. The proposed bill allows it to be consistent with state and federal laws referencing that act, and basically it requires credit service businesses to provide consumers with information statement, including description of their rights under the Federal Credit Reporting Act. So these proposed amendments are necessary due to these changes in federal law.
Okay. All right, there's the bill passed the House, by the way, 97 to nothing. All right, there's a motion and a second to report 1544, House Bill 1544. All those in favor vote aye.
Ayes 15, no 0.
All right, the next is House Bill 1546.
Yeah,
deals with the Virginia Antitrust Act.
Yeah, and about disgorgement. It allows the Virginia Antitrust Act to authorize plaintiffs, including the Attorney General, to seek disgorgement in suits brought under the statute. And basically what that is, disgorgement is a remedy that takes back profits or other gains that a wrongdoer derived from the wrongful conduct. And in antitrust cases, this would deter future anti-competitive conduct and prevents unjust enrichment. And that's basically all it does. Other states allow this, and it just allows our antitrust act to be in line with everybody else.
And this passed the House 99 to nothing. Anyone in the audience feel they want to speak in favor of the bill? Anyone opposed? All right, there's a motion and a second to report House Bill 1546. All those in favor vote aye.
Thank you.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill's reported. All right. Delegate O'Quinn, you're back. 1783, natural gas utilities retail supply choice.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. House Bill 1783 is a bill that ensures that Virginians have access to natural gas, renewable natural gas, hydrogen propane, and renewable propane. It does also clarify that state and local government agencies cannot restrict residential, commercial, or industrial access to these fuels, or in some cases, raw materials. These fuels are essential to home heating, industrial processes, restaurant food preparation, commercial businesses, electric grid stability, and it is a raw material for fertilizer and nylon is in just about everything, as I've learned. So, Mr. Chairman, that's the bill and essentially what it does. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, the bill passed the House 5247. All right, first off, any questions of the patron? All right, anyone want to speak in favor of the bill? Anyone want to speak in opposition to the bill? You're in favor?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, one other note. We've shared some talking points. We know that some folks have said this really isn't a problem. Why do we need to do this now? There are 3 points that we've brought out for you. One, the Board of Housing and Community Development had an energy working group that tried to get an international building code passed in Virginia last year. Second, City of Arlington, it's in their talking points. You've seen this year, they call it stretch codes. And then third, you've got the City of Richmond that's already passed a resolution to ban natural gas. So it is here. Admittedly, we are trying to send a signal that if we're going to ban natural gas, we're going to do it through the General Assembly, not through various ordinances, regulations at the local level, or through state agencies. That's the core of the bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, Eric Terry, the president of the Virginia Restaurant, Lodging, and Travel Association. In addition to, as he points out, there's an impact to the restaurant industry, a devastating impact. It's also the hotel industry. If you're staying out at the Homestead, the beautiful Homestead in Senator Deed's district, everyone takes their shower between 7 and 8 a.m. in the morning, and so it's very difficult. There's not a technology that we have found that can recover in those limits of time. Same thing on the restaurant industry. It's just very, very difficult from a technology point of view that has not caught up or really isn't far enough ahead to be able to do this. So we are in support of this. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Morgan Whalen with Virginia Natural Gas. We're supportive of the bill. Our systems are regional in nature, and again, I second the comments from Mr. Bassi. That's important that these decisions remain at the state level. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Patrina Jones-Robleski, Manager of Government and Public Affairs for Columbia Gas, and we hope that you'll support this bill. Thank you very much.
Chairman Mike O'Connor on behalf of Virginia Propane Gas Association. Propane heats about 50,000 Virginia homes. Bill includes propane, and we support it.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Ethan Betterton with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce. For all the reasons previously listed, we support the bill. Thank you.
Chairman Scott McGarry, Washington Gas. Our company supports the bill, as does the Virginia Oil and Gas Association, comprised of companies throughout the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Jason Parker, Virginia State Building Construction Trades Council. We support the bill. Thank you.
This is crazy. All right, now, those in opposition to the bill.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Blair St. Ledger Olson with Climate Cabinet Action. This model legislation is being pushed across the country to restrict local authority and lock consumers into fossil fuels. To be clear, we are unaware of any existing customers being denied access to natural gas infrastructure or any manufacturing customers being denied access to natural gas as a feedstock. And for that reason, to allow localities to continue to prioritize their public safety and reduction goals for pollution, we would ask you to oppose this bill. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question.
And I'm back.
Suppose some local government somewhere in Virginia said effective next year, whatever. No one, natural gas is illegal in our jurisdiction. What are the people supposed to do?
They would not have the authority to do that. Anyone who is considering looking at this, whether or not that was in Virginia or in another state, because this has not actually been utilized in Virginia, would be looking exclusively at new building construction, primarily with regards to residential.
Okay, next.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Peter Anderson with Appalachian Voices. We oppose the bill. This bill, we're concerned mostly about the broad preemption of both state and local authority in this bill. If you look at subsection D of the bill, it defines public entity as both agencies of the Commonwealth as well as the municipalities, and neither of those entities are allowed to enact an ordinance or resolution or promulgate any building code or contractual provision or other requirement that limits a consumer from acquiring natural gas utility service. That's a very broad preemption of both the Commonwealth's authority and localities' authority. And why is this important? The Commonwealth needs all the tools in its tool belt to address carbon pollution from its building stock. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, 12% of Virginia's greenhouse gas emissions are associated with buildings. And so we wonder, why would we eliminate the Commonwealth or any locality's ability to potentially use any of these tools, whether it's a building code or whether it's an ordinance? Why would we prevent any of these entities from using these potential tools to enact decarbonization policies? So we oppose the bill. Thank you.
Okay. Next.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Chris Layan, Virginia League of Conservation Voters. This bill, as it passed the House, for the second year in a row, included the right to energy justice, defining essentially a human right to access natural gas as long as it's profitable for the gas companies to provide that gas to you. We're a little disappointed to see that this is in the legislation 2 years ago, or 2 years in a row. You defeated it last year when it came before you, and we'd ask that you do so again.
Thank you. Mr. Land, the Clean Economy Act.
Sir.
That's the policy choice that this Commonwealth made several years ago. And is this antithetical to the goals of the Clean Economy Act if we adopted this bill?
I think you'd find that this bill would create hurdles to things, whether it's health, resiliency, any sort of local option where maybe a subdivision was going in where it would be odd to run gas out to somewhere. Maybe they're worried about the salinity or other sorts of saltwater things. And sort of it would say, hey, someone in that community could say, hey, well, my neighbors chose to move here and I really, really want natural gas, and I have a right to that. It doesn't make sense to couch this in rights, is what I'm getting at, is when these decisions are made at the local government level or when they're made between the utilities, that's really where that should lie. And all this is going to do is it's going to reduce the flexibility that the Commonwealth has when it comes to enacting decarbonization. We don't think there's any reason to reduce that flexibility. And and moving forward, you're right, it's in the Clean Economy Act. It's also stated as the energy policy of the Commonwealth as well.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Chairman, if I might, Mr. Chairman, if I might just make one statement. We've made our policy choice in this Commonwealth, and we need to proceed with everything we can do to make the Clean Economy Act work. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Victoria Higgins, Chesapeake Climate Action Network Action Fund. I want to echo the comments made by some of the folks who just came up to this stand. We oppose the bill, and I'll also add that opposition to the bill is the position of the Virginia Conservation Network, which is a network of over 150 environmental and conservation groups in this state. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Kim Jermaine with Advanced Energy United. I don't have a ton to add, but I would say that this bill infringes upon local authority, and to Senator Marsden's point, limits their ability to plan for the energy transition. So we oppose this legislation.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Connor Kish with the Sierra Club, we also oppose this legislation.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Will Cleveland with the Southern Environmental Law Center. We also oppose the bill. Thank you.
Walton Shepard, the NRDC, we're also opposed. Thank you.
Okay, bills before us.
Move to PPI. Second.
Senator Newman?
Just before we probably do that, I really like your bill, and not only that, when it came to the Clean Energy Act, we didn't allow localities to opt out of that either, so we imposed that on them. They have to live by it, and so the rest of us. So I have no question about maybe where this is going, but I think it's a common sense bill.
All right. There's a motion and a second to pass by indefinitely. All those in favor of passing by indefinitely will vote aye. Those
Ayes 11, noes 4.
ayes 11, noes 4. The bill is passed by indefinitely.
Thank you.
All right. 1783. All right, next is 1895 by Delegate Fillercorn. Non-disclosure or confidentiality agreements, prohibited non-disparagement provisions, claims of sexual harassment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I believe there are some amendments. I'm not sure if I think the clerk will be passing them out, Mr. Chairman.
Move the amendments.
Second.
All right, it's been a motion and a second to adopt the amendments to 1895. Substitute. All those in favor of adopting that, say aye. Aye. All right.
No.
No. All those opposed, no. And, all right. Substitutes before us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first, we're looking at the substitute, Senate substitute. I can just briefly go through a few of those differences there, if that would be helpful, or we can just move on to the bill in entirety. What's your preference, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman.
So several of these
Mr. Chairman.
these changes.
Before you go forward, the opposition, have they seen a copy of the substitute?
Did what?
Those who are in the opposition, have they seen a copy of the substitute? Anyone who is in the opposition, have they seen a copy of the substitute?
Mr. Chairman, are there copies available for the public? I believe Senator Spool is asking.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask Delegate Fillercorn?
Senator Marsden.
Thank you. Is this the, take the bill back to the way it was originally
Not in its
presented to
entirety,
the House?
no.
Not in
And
its
I
entirety?
believe Mr. Chairman, I believe Senator Barker had wanted to review some of those amendments or changes, if that's appropriate at the time.
Mr. Chairman, why don't you have the patrons go through the overall on it, and then we can answer questions.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, before you, you have 1895. There's been several amendments made to this committee substitute, adding the word former employees, as you can see, where it says no employer shall require an employee, adding in former employees. Specifically mentions also protections for independent contractors on the next line, in addition to employees and prospective employees, which is already enumerated. This bill covers the sexual assault. We're adding discrimination so that it covers all forms of discrimination, which already includes sexual harassment, which is already enumerated. And also protects the identity of an employee who settles in Section C of the new substitute, as was requested by several members. So most of these edits, Mr. Chairman, as Senator Marsden mentioned, were in the original version of the bill, which passed unanimously out of the House Commerce and Energy Committee. What the final substitute did from the House is it narrowed the scope of the bill to conform with the federal Speak Out Act, which protects individuals, employees' ability to speak out about sexual harassment and sexual assault as it relates specifically to NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, by preventing non-disparagement and NDAs from applying to sexual assault and harassment. The House substitute passed on the floor last week by a vote of 98-1. The federal law, what the federal law does is it actually protects individuals' ability to freely speak out about sexual harassment and sexual assault by preventing non-disparagement, non-disclosure agreements from applying to either sexual assault or sexual harassment. So, for example, if there's an employee who is sexually assaulted or harassed, an employer could use a non-disclosure agreement or a non-disparagement clause to prevent that employee from speaking out about the incident. And that is what this bill seeks to resolve. As I've said time and time again from speaking with many of the senators here as well as in the House, again, as I mentioned, it went through the Commerce Committee and then the Courts Committee as well. HB 1895 focuses on NDAs, but it is not a ban on NDAs. You can still have an NDA focused on proprietary information. This is focused on discrimination, sexual assault. So you would still be allowed, an individual, an employee would still be allowed to have a settlement agreement that amounts to anything proprietary or confidential, as well as proprietary information and also trade secrets. We're looking at this bill as a pro-business law and order bill, really aimed at improving non-disclosure agreements to protect workers. And the Office of Attorney General has spent some time with us as well. As far as I know, they're not taking a position on this bill, but they worked with us to make sure that the language was, that the substitute was amenable. We have a lot of support, Mr. Chairman. This bill has been heard in subcommittee, as I mentioned, in Commerce. Then it went to the Courts Committee, as well, obviously, as passed in the House. A lot of support, a lot of local chambers, a lot of individual businesses. The Reston, Loudoun, and Dulles Chambers of Commerce also support these bills. There's a lot of partners, a lot of stakeholders. We also have, Mr. Chairman, an attorney here who can answer any specific questions, Attorney Paul Falabella of the Richmond firm Butler and Curwood, who was here to answer any specific questions, especially as it relates to legal questions, if the chairman would deem it
Yes, sir,
appropriate.
Mr. Chairman. All the stakeholders that you were talking about that went before, so my question is, those in opposition before the substitute, were these the substitute that you're having now, were they also discussed?
Yes,
in
it
the
was,
House?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Any other questions of the patron? All right, anyone here want to speak in support of the bill? Anyone in opposition to the bill? Senator Barker, excuse me.
Yes, I'm just following up on some of the things that Delegate Filler-Corn's been talking about. This is focused narrowly on sexual harassment in the workplace and related issues there, sexual assault and discrimination. And what it does is it basically applies to various things, such as the non-disclosure agreements that there may be between employees and employers, disparagement, and a confidentiality agreement. And so what it's trying to do is narrowly limit the ability of the employer to be able to, in effect, limit the ability of the person who feels that he or she was sexually harassed, assaulted, or discriminated against to be able to get retribution there. So, and that's, I think, the heart of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. You're opposed to the bill?
No, in favor of the bill. I am the aforementioned Paul Falabella with the law firm of Butler Kerwood, Vice President of the Virginia Employment Lawyers Association. We support the substitute bill. It's really a bill about transparency, bill about sunshine, aimed at, as Senator Barker said, a narrow set of situations and facts, and that's sexual harassment and discrimination. As of 2019, this body already bans NDAs for sexual assault. This expands it to harassment and discrimination.
Okay. Is there anyone else to speak in support of the bill? Delegate Phillicorn, our counsel says that there's a couple of technical amendments that may be needed, and what we'll do, he'll talk with you, and between the time we report it, if we report it, and the time it gets to the floor, he'll have the amendments ready, and you'll be fully aware. He said I think you said technical amendments.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. There's some sections listed in the title that aren't in the bill, as well as some other technical amendments.
Okay. All right, Senator Phillicorn, did you want to speak on the bill?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Christine Noonan with Reed Smith on behalf of the Chamber. And I do appreciate the committee's time. Candidly, I didn't anticipate speaking on this bill today. I did not see the substitute before committee. The Chamber was neutral on the bill as it came out of the House Courts of Justice Committee, but we were opposed to the bill as it was introduced and until the substitute was offered. We're still reviewing the substitute, but would continue to have concerns with a departure from federal law in this area. As you heard, the bill started out quite broad, much broader than the federal law. The bipartisan federal law that was signed into law at the end of last year, which this bill has been compared to frequently, was very narrowly tailored. It was limited to the enforceability of non-disparagement and non-disclosure agreements in cases of sexual assault and sexual harassment. Again, the introduced bill was broader. It applied not only to...
But that bill's not before us now.
Correct. And, Mr. Chair, to be honest, I haven't had time to fully digest what's in the substitute. I will say that it did start out much broader. One thing, just in looking at it very briefly, that is in the substitute before you today, that is not in the federal law very clearly, is the private right of action. The bill before you today would provide for a private right of action, either for actual damages or $10,000, whichever is greater, whereas the federal law would simply make those contracts unenforceable and void. The introduced bill also had provisions that would have applied to contracts already existing, and the labor attorneys at the Chamber had looked at this and had serious concerns with how broad this is and the departure from...
She's narrowed it considerably. The other thing I would ask you is that if somebody goes to court and as it turns out they were sexually harassed or assaulted, why shouldn't the company pay through the teeth?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, certainly the Chamber would not support those who have been violated not getting sort of their full due process. I think the concern here is that with federal law, what was signed into law previously last year, and the underlying law that it's based on, there is a canon of precedent that judges can rely on. When we, and this has happened in years in the past, when we continue to create state causes of action that mirror but are slightly different to or often more expansive than the federal law, it creates confusion, and for business owners, it's hard to... Well,
Mr. Chairman,
Two questions about this. One, understand you don't like the cause of action part. Are you okay with the other two major changes I'm seeing, the former employee and the independent contractor, those that were made post-house?
Senator Bell, Mr. Chair, I don't have authority. I actually haven't communicated with the chamber on, I'm not sure that, when I looked, it wasn't posted online. I'm not sure that the chamber's had an opportunity to review it. What I would respectfully request is, just as this bill in the House went from Commerce and Energy to the House Courts Committee, I would respectfully request that the Senate Judiciary Committee have an opportunity to review this bill, as it is a change in employment law. I'll also note, just in my very brief review, it looks like it is an expansion not only in the types of allegations that would be covered under the existing statute that's in front of you, but it might be an even broader expansion, like you said, Senator Bell, as to who it would apply to. So would respectfully request, again, with the caveat that I really haven't had time to digest this. I'm seeing it just as you all are for the first time. But we would like to continue to talk to the patron and work through this. I'm just not in a position to tell you the chamber's position on that exact point, and I apologize.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, my other question was for the patron. So is that correct? And am I correct, there's three major changes then?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and Senator Bell.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Newman.
I guess to the other presenter, no. I just can't find where we've had in any of these other versions a mere allegation covered as well. This one seems to bring in an allegation would also be potentially one of the covered items, whether it's correct or not. And then two is that could become part of the actual damages. Am I reading that correct?
Senator Newman, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I would agree with your take on that. Again, having looked at it briefly, that did stick out to me. I will say the substitute that came out of House courts was narrowly construed, just like the federal law, to allegations of sexual assault as we define them in Virginia, and there are 4 code sections listed, and sexual harassment as we define them in Virginia. When there is ambiguous language, as what the employee reasonably believes, it can be difficult for employers across the board to know what an employee reasonably believes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, can I have a couple questions for the patron?
Senator Lewis.
This is outside my wheelhouse. If it's not a real estate closing or a traffic case, you've lost me.
That's why we have a specialist.
That's right. But that's to my point, and I certainly support the tenor of the bill. I'm just curious. So we've got references in here to independent contractor. We've got references in here to contractor. We've got a paragraph in here that creates a civil cause of action. And we have an attorney here to testify as the expert witness. I mean, do you think it maybe should go to courts? Or judiciary over here, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I don't believe that's necessary. This has been heard, back and forth, and we have attorneys here as well. And as I mentioned, it was sent to Commerce. Was heard in Commerce in the House. Then it went to courts, went to sub courts, went to full courts. I don't think there's any reason to send it back on to judiciary here. I think there's a lot of support for the bill. If there's a problem or a question with a specific, if somebody has a specific amendment they want to make, bring it up now and let's deal with it.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Bell.
Mr. Chairman, frankly, I think if an employee, former employee, or independent contractor is harassing, it should be a problem. And this addresses that. And the other thing, the idea is not to allow, if harassment's taking place, an NDA to then be newly executed to try to cover that up. I mean, I think that would be a problem. I think if there's an allegation, you shouldn't be able to do an NDA to cover it up. With that, I make a motion to report.
All right, there's a motion and a second to report House Bill 1895 as a substitute. All those in favor, vote aye. Those opposed, nay. You probably, you're a no vote. Oh, you can't do it.
maybe Kate, or maybe Toby can do it.
Hope we record him as a no.
Trying 2 times.
Ayes 11, noes 3, 1 abstention.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ayes
Members-
11, noes 3, 1 abstention. Bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Oh, that's you. Oh.
Consider. Yeah, here's a substitute. All right, next is Delegate Hope. Is he here? All right. He's not here. All right. The next then would be, hold on here. Delegate Oric. And this bill is 2354, and it deals with the topic of healthcare provider panels, continuity of care. Can you explain the bill?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I had legislation last year that had the Bureau of Insurance look at the whole continuity of care circumstances, and this legislation is a result of their recommendations. And the long and the short of the changes, it makes clear that 90 days prior to the termination of the insurance carrier with the healthcare provider, the insurance carrier will notify the patients. 90 days after that termination date, the patient can still receive services under the previous reimbursement formula, giving the patient a full 180 days to seek other insurance coverage or different healthcare providers. The other caveats it makes is for the patient. If the patient is in pregnancy care, they will be covered throughout the term and into postpartum of their delivery. If the patient is in a terminal health circumstance, continuation of treatment for the terminal condition will continue as long as necessary for its treatment. And if they are in a nursing home or rehab facility, their coverage will continue until discharge. So it gives patients a lot more rights. It creates transparency, I think, in the process and consistency across the state. It doesn't influence the current process of the contracts between the healthcare providers and the insurance carriers.
And I would remind everybody, this bill passed the House 98-0. Okay. All right, any questions of the patron? All right, those who want to speak in support of the bill.
Mr. Chairman, Doug Gray on behalf of the Virginia Association of Health Plans. This bill is the result of a study that had 5 meetings. The provider community and the health plan community worked together and with the Bureau of Insurance and came up with this outcome. This truly is a big improvement for the consumer. Before, you had to request a continuation of coverage past the end of the contract. Now it's guaranteed to everyone for 90 days. So it's a big change in the right direction. And frankly, it's a statute that needed to be updated badly. So I wanted to thank everybody who participated. It was a good effort.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Spruill.
May I speak to the... What's your name, sir?
Mr. Chairman, Doug Gray on behalf of the Virginia Association of Health Plans.
I just want to make sure, if I'm not used to you supporting stuff. Thank you.
Get your camera out.
Get him in it, too.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Scott Johnson speaking on behalf of the Medical Society, and our 2-word response is me too. Thank you.
Okay.
Just piling on, Brent Rawlings, Virginia Hospital and Healthcare Association. We support the legislation.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone in opposition to the bill? All
I
right.
can't imagine.
The bill report. Second, all right, there's a motion to report. Is there a second? All right, there's a motion and a second to report House Bill 2354. All those in favor, vote aye.
That's my chairman.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill
Thank you,
is
Mr. Chairman, members
supported.
of the committee.
All right, the last one I think we have is Delegate Wampler. Hope's here, okay. All right, you'll go after, you'll be next, Delegate Hope. Okay, Delegate Wampler, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. I have House Bill 2418, which will bring you all to the workers' compensation insurance section of the code. What my bill does is it authorizes the SEC to approve the merger of private group self-insurance associations. In 2009, the General Assembly passed a law that allowed public pools to merge, and the industry thought that private pools were allowed to be merged under that same legislation. However, there was an attempted merger this past summer in 2022, and the SEC denied that and said that the merger was not allowed. So the industry came to me and asked me to put this bill in, which adds a provision to the code that says the SEC can approve 2 or more group self-insurance associations as long as they assume in full the obligations of the 2 underlying merging entities. That'd be the bill in short, Mr. Chairman, but happy to take any questions from members of the committee.
Second, and a question for the paper, Mr. Chairman. Wait. All right. Senator Evan?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Wampler, so the denial of the merger was just based on the fact that they thought they didn't have the authority to approve the merger?
Mr. Chairman and Senator Eben, I think that's correct.
Okay.
It was that there was a question of whether this applied to public pools or private pools. And so the amendment to the code would allow for 2 or more group self-insurance associations of private nature.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to report House Bill 2418. All those in favor, vote aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill's reported.
See, Wampler?
Senator,
Wampler, see, I love
Senator
you.
Byron, you want it?
You see how I love
Senator
you?
Barker, you were going to bring up? All right, Delegate Hope, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I have before you House Bill 1924.
We need to refer to. All right, Delegate Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. House Bill 1924 would, over time, phase in the elimination of the subminimum wage that we pay to individuals with disabilities. Employers in Virginia may apply to the U.S. Department of Labor for what they call a 14C certificate, which allows them to permission to pay employees with disability below the state minimum wage. There are only 325 individuals in the entire Commonwealth that are paid under this program. The rare use of this program, and it's shrinking every single year, it's getting smaller and smaller of people that participate, should tell you how obsolete this program has become over time. There are about 15 states that have passed a bill similar to what you have before you. In fact, last year, our neighbor to the west, Tennessee, just passed a law to ban some minimum wages. And this is a really good time for this bill. Virginia just received in September of last year a $13.8 million grant, a federal grant. It's a bipartisan bill passed by Bobby Scott and Kathy McMorris Rogers, Republican she's from Minnesota, I believe. No, I'm sorry, she's in Washington State, rather. Passed a bill to eliminate subminimum wage. And the money that we received from the federal government, one of 14 states that received it, the sole purpose was to transition those states away from this program. So this is a real golden opportunity to take advantage of that $14 million that have come our way and to phase out this program once and for all. What my legislation will do is it will close the door so more employers don't go in and apply for this program that really is starting to go away.
Okay, you've heard the bill.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Newman.
Mr. Chairman, this committee will remember that we heard a version of this bill a while back, and this committee very directly rejected that. And I'm going to give you the reason why we did that. There are people in sheltered industries and otherwise who simply cannot operate at a regular level, and they desperately want to be employed. They are employed today because of this exemption.
You know what, people are taking advantage.
Mr. Chairman, my concern is that I will not mention his full name, but I know a Stephen is in Lynchburg and I am his godparent, and I love him, and he is very challenged, and he loves his job. If you go to him, you'll never hear anybody speak so nicely about his job. He's not at a sheltered industry, but he loves his job, and he loves telling you he's working. And I have great fear that if we go in and place these limits as opposed to the current requirements, he is not going to have that job. And I know these are tough things in election years, but we did the right thing a couple of years ago, and I know we all, on both sides, love these people, love them dearly. And the patron, I'm sure you do too, and you want them to be paid more. But my fear is that he is simply not going to have the job. We're not going to force those employers to hire him. We're not going to have the incentive to hire him, and he's just not going to make it. So to the patron, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but it just, to me, it hurts too much to do that.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Spruill.
Thank you. I like the bill, but it's the same situation. I have a granddaughter who I know is not being paid the minimum wage now. And because I know the employees who is working that way to get, they should get it. But on her level, the way they pay her now, she is not working up to par of what they're making now. And I know that, but she has that opportunity. She's working, and she's my granddaughter. So all I'm saying is that I know that the job that she has, that they are paying her, but they're not paying her what they are making, because she can't do that kind of work, but they are paying her. So my question is that, will that have an effect on her job?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to respond. I wouldn't bring this bill if I thought the 325 people that are in Virginia, which again, I want to emphasize that point. This is a shrinking population that are in this program because companies are moving away from this because it's an obsolete program, and it's just not the right way to treat people with disabilities. I don't believe that they will lose their jobs. I think over this phased-in period, this 3 or 4 year phased-in period, we have demonstrated, and I hope you listened to some of the testimony, Melwood has over 300 employees in my area that just in my area have been able to transfer phase in their entire program without the funding that we have right here today, and people keep their job. So people with disabilities will have their job next year, the year after that, the year after that. Companies can get innovative. There's ways to show them how they can do that, and they can keep their job. I would not bring this bill if I thought for a second, Senator Newman, that people would lose their jobs over this.
I'll just comment that I heard the argument when I, in 2020, dramatically increased the minimum wage starting the following year. And our employment, that there was going to be massive unemployment. There was no unemployment. And in fact, the unemployment in this state is currently at its all-time low. And people who, in these low-wage jobs are desperately looking for people, now. And I hear that all the time. Where are they? And so I don't see that happening. And as you said, it's a shrinking group anyways. And I just don't think anybody should ever take advantage of anyone simply because they have a disability, which is what the federal law permitted. Senator Evan.
Yeah, for Delegate Hope, did you say there was a $13 million federal grant to help transition these workers? And does that money go to help their employers compensate them for their work?
Mr. Chairman, DARS applied for the grant. DARS will administer the $13.8 million program. They will help these 325 individuals and their employers phase out and move away to the setting into more of a competitive environment.
What'd you say?
I do have people here that want to speak in favor of the bill. I have not, since I've had the bill, I've not heard of any opposition.
Is there any other questions of the patron? All right, does anyone here want to speak in favor of the bill?
Hi, I'm Larissa Couts, and I'm the president and CEO of Melwood. We transitioned 365 people off of our sub-minimum wage 14C certificate. And the difference between the bill this year and when we've brought it last year is that we're not alone. We've been joined by ServiceSource, by Did Lake, by many other service providers in Virginia that have transitioned over the last decade, all of the individuals in our employ away from the 14C certificate. And most of those individuals are still working for us. Folks that were at 10% productivity, 20% productivity, I'm still able to employ them on the contracts that I have through supported employment, customized employment, and through other innovative structures that didn't exist in the 1930s when this law passed. When this law passed, it was done with good intentions. It was done at a time where there weren't alternatives, where people didn't think that people with disabilities could do anything but be in a sheltered workshop with payments of sub-minimum wage. Right now, if you have individuals that are working, creating items like cardboard boxes on a conveyor belt, we could set up an LLC that's owned by those individuals with disabilities. They can be entrepreneurs in the gig economy. They can own the work that they are making and sell it to the companies. We have helped individuals set up businesses. There's a young lady with Down syndrome that created her own store making sleep masks, and she hired people with disabilities to do it. And when you walk in there, you might think it looks like any other sheltered workshop that exists, but it's owned by the person with the disability, and it gives them the incentive to be able to do more and the ability to do more. Thank
Okay.
you.
Mr. Chairman, question.
Next,
Question.
Senator Surville.
Ma'am, to you, ma'am. No, Scott, got a little bit more hair than I got. Ma'am, a question to you.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Rule, excuse me.
I favor what you're doing. I favor the bill. What having the old saying say, I favor the bill, but when it hit home, it's different. Now, we talking about a family now, so what you said, I favor the bill, but I know I have a loved one that can do that. So what you're doing, I live in Chesapeake, in Hampton Roads. So with that bill having an effect on my loved one, who I know cannot work to that $12 an hour, I know it, and probably will never be it. So my question is this: besides what happened in North Virginia, would that have an effect on that person who, in my family, that I know they cannot do the job, but they gave her the opportunity, she loves it, she's not getting paid what they're making, but she loves what she's doing. Would she lose her job based on the 325? Forget them. I want to know, will she be able to keep her job? And she is satisfied, and we, my family, is satisfied that she can't make what everybody else can, but she got the job, she loves it, and give her something to do. My question is that, will she be able to hold on to that job?
I absolutely believe that she can, especially with the $13 million grant that the state has been given to be able to ensure that each of the 325 people currently paid under this program are able to get supported, customized gig economy employment. Absolutely. If we stop it now, if we can cut off the people that are asking for the 14C and eliminate it right now, the amount of money we have coming in will be able to help each of those nonprofit employers change their business model, change their programs, and continue to employ these people with disabilities so they can keep doing what they're doing and still earn the dignity of a paycheck.
Hey, thank you. All right, next, in favor of the bill.
Matthew Shapiro, Virginia Absey, we're in favor of the bill.
Thank you. Next.
Mr. Chair, Colleen Miller from the Disability Law Center of Virginia. We support the bill as well. I think you've got a unique opportunity here to take advantage of this program that the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services has to really come up with an individualized approach to solve the challenges of each of the loved ones that's been discussed here. So we support the bill.
Okay. Next.
Tanya Milling with the ARC of Virginia. We support this bill. I was very fortunate to be part of a process like this in 2011, the ARC of Southside in Danville, Virginia, where we took one of the largest sheltered workshops and transitioned that to community employment, customized employment, community engagement. There are so many more things that are available in our new waiver for integrated supports in the community. So we very much support this. Thank you.
Okay, next.
Mr. Chair, member of the committee, I'm Terry Morgan with the Virginia Board for People with Disabilities, and we support this bill. And as Colleen Miller with the Disability Law Center said, this is a great opportunity to move Virginia forward, like the 14 or 15 states that have already made this change and have not seen a reduction in employment. Actually, they've seen their system modernize with all of the new technologies and the new best practice models for supporting people with disabilities to be fully employed members of their community.
All right, anyone in opposition to the bill? Bill's before us.
Mr. Chairman.
All right,
Can I speak to it real quick?
Senator Mason.
Mr. Chairman, it sounds like that the wave is phasing out this 14C or whatever it is. 14C. But I am as concerned as the gentleman from Bedford about the conversation we've had in our past. I'm going to support it because it sounds like we're doing it a different way and a better way. But when that $13 million runs out, I hope you've got something in mind. Because I am very afraid in a few years, in fact, right now, I have a provider that says, I know how many people used to be working in the program who are now in day support or without services. So already we're seeing people that are not doing the things they used to do because of this transition that's taking place. So I think everybody agrees with the idea, the foundational, the morality of it. I just certainly hope that we are going to be able to transition these 345 people and those in the future finding something for them to do. And I hope I'm dead wrong, but I'm concerned about that aspect of it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Newman.
I'll be brief. Delegate, thanks for bringing it. It's a good discussion. But my concern is the individuals that I've worked with, if they have 10 or 15% capability, they're not going to start their own job. They're not going to employ others. And I appreciate that. It's a nice thought, but it's just not the reality. And the last thing I'll say is you'll notice what's not in this bill. We're still leaving farm workers and caddies and a bunch of people out of this bill because it's politically hard. These people have no lobbyist. There's no one going to lobby for these people. And so the only thing I'll just leave you with is that discussion that you have with these people where they're so proud of themselves, they've got a job, they love the fact they have a job, and they love telling you the fact they got a job, and they want to go to work more than anybody, probably anybody on this panel. So that's the reason why I'm going to vote no. I don't think anybody here lacks compassion for these people, but I really hope we don't do this.
All right, bill's before us. Is there a motion? Is a motion? Is there a second? Second to report House Bill 1924. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
Ayes 12, noes 2, 1 abstention.
Ayes 12, noes 2, 1 abstention. Bill is reported. All right, we want to go ahead and refer this. This? Who's going to present it? Huh? Okay. Delegate O'Quinn, you have 2026?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is very similar to Senate Bill 1231 by Senator Lewis, and I think we do have a substitute that has 3, I think, technical amendments. Is that right?
There's a motion, a second, to adopt a substitute to House Bill 2026. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the substitute is before us.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the crux of this bill really doesn't change much, and I don't think the intent changes any from what Senator Lewis presented as well. And it really does 3 main things. It restores and sustains existing markets for biomass energy generation that does not co-fire with coal by removing the requirement of the mandatory closure of 3 of Virginia's biomass facilities. It reinstates REC market participation for utility facilities and paper mills, and it establishes a woody biomass advisory committee through the Department of Forestry. So you all know well that the forestry industry is the Commonwealth's third largest industry, and so trying to help them stay competitive.
He's getting that way every week. All right, are there questions for the patron?
Just for staff, Mr. Chair, has this been amended to put the substitute on that we had in the had on this bill? Wasn't there a Senate cognate and we put a substitute on the bill?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Deeds, there has been work continuing on this bill since it left here, and I think Delegate O'Quinn's version represents the most updated version. Extensive discussions with the environmental community, and I think they're all going to speak to that here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay. I guess, is there a substitute to be adopted?
We already did.
I'll
move to adopt the substitute.
Second. All right, motion is second to adopt the substitute 2026. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Questions of the patron? All right, those in support of the bill?
Corey Connors with the Virginia Forestry Association. We thank Senator Lewis. We obviously thank Delegate O'Quinn for our work on this. Thank the environmental community for finding a path forward with us. We support the bill.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Climate Cabinet Action, we thank everybody he just said for working for the past several weeks to get to this place. We have peace in the valley. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Brad Copenhaver representing the Virginia Agribusiness Council. We support the bill.
Good afternoon. Susan Seward with the Virginia Forest Products Association. We also strongly support the bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman, member of the subcommittee, Caitlin Jordan with the Virginia Farm Bureau. We also support the bill.
Chris Lane, Virginia League of Conservation Voters. Peace in the Valley. Thank you all.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, Ron Jenkins, Virginia Loggers Association. We support the bill and the substitute.
Any opposition?
Maybe we ought to
Second.
substitute motion.
With the substitute, the House Bill 2026, all those in favor, vote aye. Those opposed, nay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, nay 0, bill is recorded.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Enjoyed spending the afternoon with you all.
Yes. I don't look like Delegate Byron, but I'll take her bill here. So, present it. This is a bill that deals with essential health benefits that are part of the Affordable Care Act. And Senator Thurlbell's had a comparable bill here. We have spent a little time with the Health Insurance Reform Commission, the HIRT, late in last year and into January, and have come up with a proposal for how we adjust our essential health benefits. We've not had a clear definition or a clear roadmap as to who does what to be able to address these issues. And what we've done is put a structure in place, proposed a structure that can be used to have consistent reviews of things. What's proposed here is to involve a lot of stakeholders in the process, to involve those of us on the Health Insurance Reform Commission, to involve the General Assembly, to involve the administration, and to what it does is it will set up a process. I mean, the Affordable Care Act was passed in 2010, and we still don't have a process for how we adjust the essential health benefits. But this will have a process to start it in 2025, and then every 5 years thereafter to review the essential health benefits, so we make sure that we're providing the services that people really need and should be able to get coverage for it with the health insurance proposals. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Surville.
Thanks. The version we passed at the Senate was slightly different than
Right.
this version, and I met with Delegate Byron this morning, and we agreed we'd stick with her language to avoid a conference.
what?
Stick with her language to avoid a conference. So This thing doesn't need any amendments.
Okay. All right, there's a motion, second, to report House Bill 2199. All those in favor, vote aye.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Bill is reported. I think that-
Mr. Chairman, if we clear the deck?
All right, that's it. Committee will rise.